Good morning, all. It's Friday the 7th, second Friday in a row that I haven't missed, which is good. So today we got quite a bit of stuff to talk about. First off, let's go into the website here and take a look at what we've got in the form of contribution to the Operation Underground Railroad, the campaign that we've got going. And that just popped in my head as I got started. So I didn't even pull this up yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and share screen this real quick. But finding that I was surprised because I hadn't looked at it for a little while, and then all of a sudden we got this really kick-ass information, which showed that some people have been jumping in a big way, and hopefully we can share this. I'm believing we can. See here. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping it's showing up. But yeah, look at what we've got here. 21,503. Wow. I mean, you guys are awesome. I mean, you can see here those who have jumped in just in the last little bit: Keith and Bassam and Gabe and Omer, Esther, my sister, Anonymous. Thank you for jumping in there. And I can get behind keeping yourself out of things. So I get that. I definitely get that. Lynn, Ryan, everybody, Tony. I mean, just look at this: Nancy, Trevor, Robert, Tim, Cole, Cassie, Benita. I mean, amazing that people are jumping in here. Just take a look at those who are just willing to jump in. I sincerely appreciate it. The list keeps going on and on and on. Those who have decided to jump in and help us out. So it's been really cool. It does show that it's closed, but interestingly enough, you can still donate. So it's not going to stop you from donating. You can definitely do that. So thank you guys for taking on what we have decided to take on, for participating in what it is that we are doing. I've had the great opportunity to meet up with a lot of these guys that are part of this organization. And man, when you see the faces of the people doing the work, it's much easier to get behind it when you can really tell how emotional it is for them. So on to some market related stuff. Let's talk about where we're going here. Some very interesting information to show. I'm going to show three charts here. I figured out a different way to show the charts that I was showing before. I have to screenshot it with my phone because that's how I have to look at it now, is on my phone. And now I can pull up the different charts so we can take a look at. So here's the 4.0, which we've looked at a lot for the investor side of it. Again, harder to use than it was before because it doesn't quite correlate to the investor loans like it used to, right? So not something that we're able to at least tells us exactly what kind of appetite's happening in the bond world. So that's why I continue to use it. But it's not going to correlate to the interest rates for us in the investor and second home world, just because we're not going directly to Fannie and Freddie anymore. So when you look at this, you start seeing that it's lost some ground. It's not been as popular for those higher coupons because they're not going to the owner occupied. They're going to they were going to investors and things like that and second homes. So they weren't going to owner occupied. So this doesn't have the steam that it used to have, because investor deals had a lot of was getting a lot of attention in the past because it was paying higher and had a better rate of payment. The performance was better, let's put it that way. And I discussed that in the past. So let's go into 3.5. You're starting to see a little bit more movement to the positive here, but it's still negative, still down off of its peak. And this is this morning, where we're at. Now we go into the 2.5, where a lot of the owner occupied stuff is. Look at this. It was fairly flat for the last few days, watching the news coming up to today. And what is the news today? Well, the news has a lot to do with jobless claims. So if you go back earlier in the week, you had the ADP report, which made it look like there was going to be somewhere in the range of about 700 to 800,000 jobs being created as a result of the information they had, right? Well, with that information and that metric, they figured, I probably can show a million jobs created. But we have the big Bureau of Labor Statistics report this morning, which says only 266,000 jobs were created. Huge disappointment than the 1 million that was expected by the market. Then not only that, we got the negative revisions to February and March, showing another 78,000 in negative revisions to previous months. So what does that do to us? It definitely shows that the economy is not as strong as people want to claim that it is. In fact, if you go back earlier this week, what's interesting, you get Janet Yellen talking. She's the Treasury Secretary, former Fed chairman, talks about that rates need to possibly be brought up to stop the economy from overheating. Now, it caused a sell-off in stock, but then later on, she flipped and says that there's no inflation brewing, that we may need to raise rates. So conflicting information all from the same person, all within the same period of time. So it's one of these things where it does cause a little bit of confusion out in the markets, but this right here is not very confusing whatsoever when you're talking about what's going on in the job market and the economy. And then we also have to worry about inflation, because inflation is definitely a risk when you're talking about what's happening with the monetary policy. You're talking about what's happening with the creation of currency, the overwhelming amount of purchasing and quantitative easing, if you will. And then you've got also the Fed chairman, and you have also one of the other Fed presidents, Fed Governor Clarida, echoed what the Fed chairman said that this week, that they're not ready to even talk about tapering. But then you go across the pond to the Bank of England, and they said their asset purchases, QE or quantitative easing, they're going to end it around 2021. So this is not about tapering. They've been tapering. They're just going to stop. So we're not far away from their stopping. So interesting things. It works in the global economy. I think there's still a great big risk of inflation. That's for real estate investors. Got to keep yourself in position to continue to purchase real estate, right? So I've had quite a few people over the years get really excited about the fact that real estate's working, right? And I get that. Real estate's working. It's like, wow, getting all this income coming in. I'm going to start tapering back on my day-to-day so I can focus more on my investments. And in that focusing more on my investments, it looks like I have enough income coming in that I'd be able to pay all my bills, focus on my investments, and grow my business. I understand that. I understand that's the goal. That's where you're seeking. Do not make a decision like tapering back on your day-to-day job, the job that pays your bills, the job that gave you the capability to buy the investments to begin with, until you talk to us, call us, discuss your debt to income ratio, discuss how that works. It's not a matter of what's coming in your checking account for the last few months. It's a matter about what we can prove the last 2 years to look like and what's sustainable in the future. We have to be able to reasonably predict what your income is going to look like, because we have the Dodd-Frank Act. We have so much regulation involved in our business, an extreme amount of regulation. That regulation has forced us to have to take certain steps. And those steps are not something we can circumvent. That's not something the Security National can just say, hey, well, we like this person. Let's make a decision on behalf of them because they've been good. We can't do that anymore. Those things have changed, right? So we have to follow these specific things. Otherwise, we get fined and we get to spend time in prison. And it just seems like I'm not even go down this path on politics or anything to that effect. Just do not make any decisions about your income, about your assets, about anything like that till we talk. Let's discuss this, because if you decide to taper on the thing that got you here, which is the income that you had that qualified you, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people at risk with that. I've seen a lot of people's business halt. I had a mentor many years ago, had to be about probably 20 years, tell me, and he was the father-in-law of one of my best friends, and he said, stick with what got you there. Think about that. Stick with what got you there. That's what I decided to do. I had so many different things that were taking me different directions, and I started to just kind of ignore those things. And I started focusing on this: real estate investors, financing their properties, and I had to stick with what got me there. Now, do I have a lot of other things going on? I do, but it all points back to here, to get information out to people to start moving and start getting things done. That's why I started the Quit Jerking Off initiative. That's why you can go to quitjerkingoff.com, and everything I'm doing there is to help people to get out of their own way and move forward. Clean up your head. Get ready to do something great. But also, you got to remember what Jim said. And Jim Hamill was his name, and he said, stick with what got you there. So do that. Stick with what got you there until you get that opportunity to move to that next stage. But don't move to that next stage on your own. Don't make decisions by yourself. You may just be the CEO of your real estate investment business, but you've got people at your board table for a reason. We are here as trusted advisors, my entire team, to help guide you through that. So never make a decision just because you think it could work. And I get the desire to do that. I was trying to do that early in my career, and I had to prayerfully decide how I was going to do that until it felt right, and I can make it right and prayerfully stand up and say, yes, I can do that. I couldn't. I had to continue to do 2 different jobs to bread my table and try and build this business. 1 year, I would get up, go to the equipment yard. I'd pick up a big piece of heavy equipment at 3 a.m. I'd get to the job site by 4. I'd finish my job by noon. I'd get to the office by 2. I'd work till 10. I slept 4 hours a night for a full year before I was able to get to this point that I could do this in 1998 full time. And that was when I was able to replace my $40,000 a year income and was able to domino from there. It wasn't easy. It was a big mess. It was hard to make that happen. It can happen that way for you. We want to protect any potential loss, and that's by communicating to us. Reach out to us. We'll guide you the best we can. Hope you have a great weekend, an awesome Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Just, what can I say? I mean, if I equate it to my own mother, Mary Ann, there's nothing I can say but thank you. You've taught me, how you've raised me. I love you and I appreciate you, and have a great Mother's Day. I'm sorry I'm not going to be there on Sunday because I'm traveling back, but I love you, Mama, and you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday.